Anybody active on Twitter here? You saw the drama about funny things today. I mean, there's the APC drama on Twitter. There's also the Gele Ichafu drama as well. Ojúmọ́ kan ọ̀rọ̀ kan ni. In fact, in short, kan ó ti ń dọ̀rọ̀ bí mẹ́wàá lójúmọ́ kan. Everybody just different people just bring Lola. Different people just bring different things. So there's Ichafu, there's Gele, and it's all these things are symptoms of a much deeper problem, and the much deeper problem is cultural evolution. Because if you are a culturally evolved people, you can borrow things, but you will acknowledge the original source. You're not going to appropriate, and there'll be no problem with that. I mean, we talk about jollof rice every time. That the word jollof itself is from Wolof, it's from Senegal. Now jollof rice is synonymous with Nigeria, but that doesn't mean you cannot acknowledge. But anything that makes you feel like, no, I can't talk about where it's coming from. If I have to dispossess those ones and say that I'm the one that gave them that name, and those nonsense, that thing is inferiority complex. And mostly you see from the East, and the reason is because of cultural evolution, and they've not found any truthful person any honest person to tell them the truth. Evolution is stunted. How can you be fighting over Ichafu and Gele and say, and let me tell you the funny thing. We're just gisting, because I saw it earlier today. Some people now went there and said, there's nothing to fight about. They are all head wraps or head gear. And the Yoruba for head gear is Gele. The Igbo for head gear is Ichafu, is the same thing. No, it's not. And I'll say it several times. Is that mindset of the prostitutes in the Book of Kings, in the days of Solomon, is the same mindset. Oh, it's mine, it's yours. Okay, you know what? Let's share it between both of us so that it doesn't look as if we are fighting over it. No, it's not yours. So you get the point. I don't know if you know the story. I think I've shared the story here before. Of course, if you've read the Bible, you must have seen the story. There are two prostitutes. They had babies, and one slept on her baby and crushed the baby to death. I don't know the kind of sleep way she did sleep, but the baby died. And then the other one, still had the living baby. So the one with the dead baby swapped baby, and she now had the living baby. The next morning, they began to fight over the baby because the other one says, "That's my baby. That's my baby." Anyway, they got to the king's palace, and they're like, what are we going to do about this? And then suddenly the king said, "You know what? We're going to divide this baby into two, so you can have some of the baby." And one said, "Yes, let's divide the baby into two." And then the other woman, who happens to be the real mother, said, "No, don't worry about it. Just give it to her." And then the king said, "The one who said don't kill the baby or divide the baby into two, that's the real mother." That's what you see with this Gele and Ichafu thing. Whenever somebody comes and says, "Oh, don't worry, it's the same thing. It's just that you have a different name for it and we have a different name for it, so that all of us can be one," that person is a thief. They're not the same thing. It's not yours. As a matter of fact, the Ichafu thing did not even appear until the Europeans arrived. The word is just the Igbo word for, it's an Igbo corruption for chiffon. It's not, people used to cover the head. Why would you? It's luxury. I don't like talking about their clothing, but it's luxury to have Igbo women covering their head. Like, why would you do that? Well, you know what? Maybe we should start there. It's something going on online. I really wish I planned for this, but you know what? Let's read some things in that light. I think what actually caused the whole thing today is a girl who made Gele of newspaper. Okay, then that became the whole thing about, oh, is Yoruba, oh, is Igbo. The truth of the matter is that it's Yoruba. It couldn't have been Igbo. If it were, I would say it was. There's no reason to lie, but it wasn't. It couldn't have been. There's an image. There's an image I have here of Ichafu, and it looks nothing like Gele. It's just basic scarf. As a matter of fact, there's a book here called Pocket Igbo Phrase book. The word Ichafu is actually scarf. It could be scarf, it could also be chiffon. I'm going to talk about the chiffon later, but scarf. Scarf is Ichafu, you see. You know, there's a lady here. This is what Ichafu looks like. You see, it's not gele. By the way, in case you have somebody here who's saying, these things don't matter, just being petty, don't worry about it. It was a láti bí ṣàyàn àti máa kíyè sógun. If a person wants to fight you on serious, I mean, all he has to do is just to change your history and turn things around. But it's better to make something very clear. So why are you talking about it? Because cultures, I mean, if you own something, it makes sense to, not to gatekeep in terms of people not copying it, but to protect it in terms of you having an understanding of ownership. Why? That's where it begins. If I can dispossess you of gele, what's with your clothes? What's with your land? What's the big deal? Are we not the same? That's how it begins. So it's not about whether a person is petty. A lot of people are talking about it, and I think it's important to also, you know, say something on this matter very quickly. Though I'm going to read a few books, even though this is not today's topic, but I think it's a good place to begin. And I'm looking for something. Okay, so I already told you about that one. Ichafu being scarf. I want to read something to you from Improvement Associations Among the Afikpo Igbo. It says here, between 1947 and 1951, a women's union called Ovuejo existed in the area, drawing its members from various villages. It had no officers, though its one literate member kept its financial records. These women wore Yoruba clothes, as well as the Yoruba head tie. They considered themselves more civilized, quote unquote, than other Afikpo women. When? Between 1947 and 1951. This is called Improvement Associations Among the Afikpo Igbo. In other words, they were secure enough, at least in that generation, to say, you know what you see our women wearing, that's Yoruba cloth. What you see on their head, that's Yoruba head tie, and that's okay. And do Yoruba people feel somehow about it? Of course not. We can all share. The problem is not about, oh, we are all wearing, of course you can wear whatever you want to wear, I mean, no problem. Once you begin to tell people that, change your history to make me feel comfortable, we know that you have a problem. And it's not the fault of Yoruba people. These little things, you say, oh, it's just head tie, oh, it's just akara, it's just egusi. Very soon, and it's happening, it will be just Ile Ife. It's just Lagos. That Ife thing, because Lagos, at least you can say, maybe because of Nigerian politics, how do you go to Ife and say, you know what, we were there before they even got there? It's that thing that emboldens people to change people's history. That's why we talk about these things, not because we are petty. I'll read it again. Improvement Associations Among the Afikpo Igbo. It says, between 1947 and 1951, a women's union called Ovuejo existed in the area, drawing its members from various villages. It had no officers, though its one literate member kept its financial records. These women wore Yoruba clothes, as well as the Yoruba head tie. They consider themselves more civilized than other Afikpo women. So the fact that they had something of the Yoruba people made them feel much better than others. It's just what it is. And there's a reason for that, by the way. It goes back to what pieces of clothing there were in Igbo land. And I think we're going to get to it. Although we didn't prepare for this, but I think it's a good place to begin today. Give me a second. I will find you something. There are about 3 materials I think I can quickly read from. This one is called Language and the Construction of Multiple Identities in the Nigerian Novel. The writer is Romanus Abo. That's the writer. Oh, no. This one is about the Oyinbo thing that they were talking about yesterday. No. By the way, they said the same thing about Oyinbo. that Oyinbo was a word that they go, you know what, let me just say the two together, both Gele and Oyinbo. Let me read this one for you. Let me read this one to in your hearing about Oyinbo. Language and the construction of multiple identities in the Nigerian novel by Romanos Abo. He says here, the item Oyinbo or Oyibo for Igbo speakers and southern Nigeria. I'll tell that again. The item Oyinbo, that's Oyinbo, Oyinbo, Oyibo without the N, for Igbo speakers and southern Nigerians is a Yoruba word that describes a white person. The word appears several times in all the sample texts, either to describe a white person or a country. In other words, they're saying here that the word Oyibo, the person, this is an Igbo man by the way, the word is a loan word from Yoruba language, Oyibo. You may call it Oyibo, but doesn't mean that it's not from Yoruba people. So I've heard all kind of funny things on Twitter. Oh, they used to have one Kinikon that said they were Oyibo people. You had contact with Benin people, maybe they, or you heard it when you go to Nigeria and then you're using the word Oyibo. Doesn't mean that you then dispossess the owners of the word, what is actually theirs. Someone says Oga as well. It's funny. These people are very interesting characters. I'll read another one to you. This one is called The Slave Trade and Culture in the Bight of Biafra, an African Society in the Atlantic World. This was written by G. Ugo Nwokeji. And this is for the Igbos who say that they are the one that they used to call Oyinbo, white people Oyinbo, and they loaned the word, they created the word, which is a lie, by the way. I want to read something to you from this book. It's called The Slave Trade and Culture in the Bight of Biafra by G. Ugo Nwokeji. He says, Acholonus interpret Oyibo, Oye Ibo, that's O-Y-E, E-B-O-E, Oye Ibo. The name Ekwano claims his people called red-colored slave traders as Oyibo, claiming it is the term the Igbo used to refer to light-skinned people rather than Europeans. It is unclear whether the Igbo began to make such a distinction, if they did at all. The Igbo referred to white people or Europeans as Beke, that's B-E-K-E-E. It is likely that late 19th and early 20th century Igbo may have borrowed Oyibo from the Yoruba, who used and still use it to refer to Europeans or white people, which is probably why that reference is more current among the Western Igbo, who had greater intercourse with the Yoruba. It's unnecessary to begin to rewrite history, but you see, we are going to claim everything at Egusio, at Oyibo, at Gele, at whichever one. Everything. Not to say, let's hoard stuff out. Nobody should touch it. Nobody should touch it. That's not the point. And it's important to also, highlight this distinction. It's not to say nobody should touch anything that is Yoruba. It's just to say that don't be a culture vulture. Don't go around stealing people's things and appropriating stuff and saying we are all one Nigerian. Guess what? I even made it before you came. Like, you couldn't have had it. We'll come back to that Gele very soon. But I've read two things about that, right? One more thing on that Oyinbo thing before I go back to the Gele stuff. So this is Igbo English Dictionary, Michael J.C. Echeuro. It says the title is Igbo English Dictionary, a comprehensive dictionary of the Igbo language with an English Igbo index. So they have the word white man, and what they call that word, it's Beke. I don't know how to pronounce it in their language, by the way, so but it's B-E-K-E-E, just like the one we read earlier. Beke Onyocha. So it's Beke, it's Onyocha, then it says Oyibo loan. In other words, they borrowed Oyibo. Then it says here, Oyibo, white person, European, Yoruba. In other words, it has Yoruba origins. Oyibo is white person in Yoruba language, but in Igbo language is Onyocha. Or Beke, however they pronounce that word. What does all this, why are we doing all of these things? To make it very clear that it makes no sense for people to go around stealing other people's clothing articles or whatever, or words, just to be able to tell everybody that, oh, we are all Nigerians. That is not going to happen. Now I'm going to stay on this Gele thing for a bit before we go to the news. So I read from Improvement Associations among the Afikpo Igbo earlier. There's one more thing I want to read. Yes, that chiffon thing, I found it. Here, the word English is chiffon or French, depending on where you're coming from. The Igbo word for chiffon is Ichafu. It's not the Igbo word for headgear. There is no headgear in Igbo language, and the reason is not far-fetched. Don't worry, I'll tie everything together eventually. Ebonyi Journal of Language and Literary Studies. They have a subtitle in the book, right? This one was, sorry, it's an article in a journal by Christopher Aja, Federal College of Agriculture, Ishiagu, Nigeria. There's a particular subheading in this whole article that I find very intriguing. He calls it Yoruba as a donor language. I'll read some things to you from here. As seen in Hausa language situation, where Igbo language borrowed to elaborate its vocabulary from different aspects of culture, Yoruba also donated to elaboration of Igbo language vocabulary. Yoruba language is in the same core group of Niger Cordofanian language family and is spoken by about 30 million speakers located in the southwestern region of Nigeria. Actually, we are more than that, and we are beyond Nigeria, but that's okay. The aspect of Yoruba culture where Igbo borrowed from are technology, food, disease, word for general purpose. Igbo borrowed little from Yoruba technology and its words, unlike from English and the Western technology. The words borrowed from Yoruba language of technology are for cultural area, buba, agbada. Buba is Yoruba native cloth and is borrowed into Igbo language to represent the same ideas in Yoruba. Agbada is also borrowed. Sorry, Igbo also borrowed this name from another type of Yoruba cloth called agbada in Yoruba language without changing the word form. A lot of words were borrowed from Yoruba food culture. These are traditional Yoruba foods which are now being eaten by Igbo people but do not have Igbo origin. Akara, egusi, agidi, moi moi or mai mai, alibo. So akara is akara, egusi is egusi, agidi is agidi, mai mai is moi moi, alibo is elubo. By the way, in case you are, this journal is called Ebonyi Journal of Language and Literary Studies. And the title of this article is Borrowing to Enrich Language Vocabulary, Lesson from the Igbo Language. And just to be clear, this is not a superiority contest, right? Most languages, if you're an exposed people, most likely you're going to borrow from different places. There's no big deal about it. The crazy thing is when you tell people that you borrowed from, they are the one that created what they loaned you. We'll take it back. The thing is that for the average Igbo person back in the day, to have that gèlè actually made her feel, especially the ones in Afikpo, made them feel superior to other Igbos who were not necessarily covering their head before Europeans, because even the chiffon, whether it's chiffon or scarf, because different dictionaries, you see Ichafu, you see scarf, chiffon is also Ichafu. That was something that came later. I'll find a way to read what I want to read without sounding, because I don't want to sound I don't want to sound harsh, but I have to read those things because we have to settle some things once and for all. I saw some people on social media saying, this is gèlè, this is Ichafu. The one they are calling Ichafu is also gèlè, but the person wearing it is Igbo. Just because an Igbo person is wearing suit and tie does not mean that suit and tie is like the head woman you wear in Igbo land is not native to Igbo land. Or the akpoche, the isiagu is not native to Igbo land. And there's no problem with that until you tell people that, listen, I wasn't conjured and brought this stuff from the air. You can wear what belongs to, you can wear whatever you like, but don't tell those who own it that you were the one that created it for them to wear. Like, you couldn't have worn anything like that. And I'm going to get to it today since we are on cloth matter and the idea of culture vultures. Let me give you an example. Let me show you one of the examples I'm talking about. Look at this. I'm sure you know this person, but no way. So this is what's her name now? Bianca Ojukwu. She's Igbo. And she has something on her head, which is gèlè. And it looks pretty. She looks pretty and it looks pretty on her. It's nice. until somebody says this one is Ichafu and this one is Gele. This Gele, this style that they are using, this one that everybody is calling Gele, this style is not even, when I was growing up, there was nothing like this. There were all kinds of Gele designs or styles, and the one Bianca has is Gele, just like the other one. They are different styles. Doesn't mean that one style is one that's Yoruba. Everything you are using, you copied, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just, you don't even have to admit. Just stop telling people that you took something from them. And you're going to understand why this is important. So again, when people say things like this is Ichafu, this is Gele, but it's actually the same thing. They say, oh, we call it Ichafu. You don't call it that. Ichafu is scarf. It's just scarf. It's scarf. It's not headgear. It's not what your people use. Now that you are in Nigeria and not in Loju, like you are now civilized, you can now use it. Feel free to use it, but don't change it. Don't tell people that, it's something. Because even, see, whether it's the head warmer, that one that has, or the red one, the head warmer is from Europe. The red face cap, that one is from Turkey. The Ichafu, that's from France and England. The Gele is from Yoruba people. You got these things from different points. There's a reason that happened, and I want to get into that reason now. I'm going to read you a book from 1866. It's actually quite funny that this was not supposed to be the path that we follow today, but thanks be to God, everything was good for good, Abby. Okay. There's an assumption in this country that we are all the same and that people can be disrespectful and appropriate what belongs to other people. That's not going to happen. Listen to this. When we arrived at Onitsha in 1857, this was published in 1866. The book title is A Charge Delivered on the Banks of the River Niger in West Africa, written by Samajayi Crowther. This was in 1866. It says, when we arrived at Onitsha in 1857, we found the people in a state of idleness and with attendant evils. They were scantily and filthily clothed, and in a state bordering upon starvation, especially before the cessation of the old and the ripeness of the new crops. I won't go into the food part today. Let's just leave the food today. The point is just that they were scantily and filthily clothed. There's another material, if I find, I'm going to read to you, where it talks about what they had on. What they had on essentially was something to cover their private. Okay, the top. I hope I have it here. It's one of the books, but I don't know where I left it. See, God is good though. I just found it. Pre-colonial Igbo women had waist wrapper. They called it ogodo. It's short for maidens and longer for married women. It covers the lower body. They are often bare-chested or minimal top. They have heavy jigida waist beads. And then later on they began to have simple Ichafu headscarf. The truth of the matter is that and I want to find a way to say it as respectfully as possible, because it's important to be respectful in all of this. But if people don't have, okay, let's say it this way, if people don't have enough clothes to cover their body, you think they'll be covering his head, they'll be covering all over the place. And if you want to cover the head, is that kind of material, that gilly material that you're going to use when your body is not covered. Somebody will now come and tell us that where two rappers start from is Igbo land. Two rappers. There was no one rapper, let alone two. That's why when these guys started saying that everywhere they have two rappers is Igbo land, I'm like, is everybody okay where these people come from? There wasn't any, let alone two. The idea of having two rappers is even actually, see, I don't like saying that we did this, we did that, but let me just say it let me say it this way. Yoruba women will have Iro, then they have Ikwele, then they have Ibonu. This is not about last century or 2 years or 2 centuries ago. That's how they dressed. They had Iro, apart from Buba. Buba is the top. They have Iro, that's the rapper. They have Ipele, Toma Wilori rapper, that's the second rapper. Then they have Iborun, the one they put here on their shoulder. You must have a lot of clothes to be dressing like that. That's the point. Folks who were filthily clothed in 1866 cannot be telling people that whatever they see people wearing, when they didn't have it, they somehow were the one that loan, or we have the same thing, just giving a different word. That's not how it works. And again, this doesn't mean that don't use it. Of course, use it. Enjoy, use it, but don't change history. In fact, there's one I just remembered right now. Give me a second. I just remember this. It's from the book and by the way, notice I'm quoting books. So if you want to get angry, just go and meet the authors. God will bless you. This book is called The Tragedy of Victory by Godwin Sama. There's a page that's quite interesting that I think is going to help us here. Listen to this. In the eastern region of Nigeria, with Enugu as its capital, Dr. Michael Okpara, the premier, even in the eastern region of Nigeria, with Enugu as its capital, Dr. Michael Okpara, the premier of the region, put up an edict in 1963. Not 1923, not 1823, not 1704, not 20,000 years ago, not 5 centuries ago, 1963. I have siblings that were born before then. Just to tell you that it's not that long ago. Although it's but it's not that bad. Listen, in the eastern region of Nigeria with Enugu as its capital, Dr. Michael Okpara, the premier of the region, put up an edict in 1963 declaring that anybody that came to Ogbete market in Enugu naked would pay a fine. And that was how second-hand clothing called Okrika Wake Up was introduced into Nigeria. The leader of the western region of Nigeria, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, warned the people in a presidential campaign later on that the introduction of second-hand clothing into Nigeria would kill our textile industries. They hated him for that. Today, no textile mill is standing in all of Nigeria, while second-hand clothing business booms, and so is unemployment. When I was growing up, we didn't really have a lot of second-hand clothing, at least not in our part of the country. Some people used to have. I used to see some people wear certain things like, this looks nice. I mean, it looks nice, but it just doesn't look like what I was used to. I mean, even as kids, I don't know if you remember, as kids, we were always wearing wattels. Do you know wattels? Anybody wore wattels in the 80s? We had wattels for Christmas, or you have ready-made. That's what they call it, ready-made. Conductors. I remember the clothes I used to wear back in the day. Or you have tailors make stuff for you, but we didn't used to import stuff until, of course, everything went to the dogs. But you see, that was in the 90s and early 2000s. Everything went to the dogs proper in this Yoruba part. But generally speaking, as at 63, and I think it's about to say this, the reason for second-hand clothing in Nigeria is actually the South. Not the South, it's the Igbos. And I'm not saying this to insult anybody. I'm just we need to tell ourselves the truth. The primary reason for second-hand clothing in Nigeria, Igbos. Is it good or bad? That's not the point. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just telling you how things happened. Folks were not wearing clothes, so that by 63, the government had to put out an edict saying that if you're coming to the market, you must wear clothes. If you come naked, you're going to be fined. Think about it. That's the person who is telling me that what you have, we also have. We have the same thing. Are you joking? 63. That's after independence. And because of that, one of the answers they had in their genius answers to that problem was to import second-hand clothes. Meanwhile, you could have worked with the textile mills in Nigeria to solve that problem, but Awolowo said something later on that this thing you're doing is going to destroy the textile industry in Nigeria, and it did. How many textile mills do we have in Nigeria? Now, I was thinking about this yesterday. Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, he got huge in NLC, but a lot of people do not know that his background was actually in the textile industry. The whole thing about labor unions and everything, it was in the textile industry. That's where he got his start from, after schooling abroad. But where's the textile industry now? You know, in Yoruba land, I don't know about you. If you remember, please let me know. I don't know if you also have the same experience. Growing up, to buy second-hand clothing, you can't do it in open space. We used to call it bossy corner or bossy koro. You can't. It's not something cool. It's something like wama wa koro kon lati rani. Because it's not something that you are proud of. So they used to call it bossy koro, bossy corner. It was much later that we started hearing bend down select. But originally, in the 90s, early 2000s, it was bossy koro, bossy koro, bossy koro. The point is that the idea of bossy koro was originally okrika. They call it here okrika, wake up. And it was the answer to the fact that people were coming to the market in Enugu naked up until the 1960s. How can you come out from this place and be telling people that you're the ones that make clothes for them and you're the one that give them gele and that you have the same thing, it's called the same thing? Are you dumb? Look at pictures of all the politicians from Igbo land in the 1950s and 60s. They were all wearing agbada and wearing Yoruba caps. And is there a problem with it? No, there's no problem. It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with wearing Yoruba clothes. I could decide to wear Hausa clothes. In fact, today I could decide to dress like somebody from Niger Delta. It's okay. What is not okay is for me to tell the owners of those clothes that, hey, I made it. All the things you're wearing, now me make them. It's like when they talk about this Akwete, they're always shouting Akwete, Akwete. Akwete got to Igbo land through the Ijaws. I mean, the design, the material got to Igbo land through the Ijaws who called it Ikaki. But the Yorubas that sold it to them, the Jebu, they call it Asholono. The same Asholono got to Ghana and became Kente. He got to Ghana through the Portuguese and through traders from our space, but largely through Portuguese. They will buy Asholono in Ijebu, they will sell to Ghanaians and then buy gold from, and exchange for gold in Ghana, and then on their way to Europe. The Ijaws bought Asholono and then they called it Ikaki. They were the ones responsible for the spread of the popularity of that material in the Igbo hinterland. Much later, they also began to do stuff according to the pattern of the Asholono. You hear them talk to them. There's nothing wrong. Listen, we all copy, we all learn, and sometimes, I mean, some people is original, some people they copy, but that's fine. What you just don't do is to become so disrespectful to folks who were gracious enough for to share with you and tell them that they're stupid and that whatever it is they own actually belongs to all of us because we're in one country. That's nonsense. And it's not unity. I read a number of books and I know I was very fast reading those books, but I hope you caught the names, the title of those books, so that it doesn't look like we're making things up. But if you need me to, I'll probably go back and read them again. Someone says Ojukwu speaks Yoruba fluently. Yeah, because he grew up in Yaba. Ojukwu was in Yaba now. If you read Shoyinka's, there's a book, there's this one, not open source. You Must Set Forth at Dawn. If you read You Must Set Forth, and we could, but that's not today's topic. But if you read You Must Set Forth at Dawn, he talked about how he had always known Ojukwu, even from youth. They knew each other. Azikiwe also went to school in Lagos. He could also speak Yoruba. Many leaders from the Southeast in the First Republic, a number of them actually were not even born in Igbo land, let alone grow up in Igbo land. Some of them were born, some of them grew up. Like Ojukwu was born in Zungeru, just like Zik. But after a while, Zik went to school in Calabar. He also went to school in Lagos. Ojukwu also went to school in Lagos. And it's not a problem. You know, the real issue is just folks who are dedicated to appropriating what belongs to other people. And in case you are here and you're like, what's the big deal about this? I want to read some. I hope I find it quickly, though. I hope I find it. But I'm going to read something to you. This happened, I think it's, one was in Mexico, the other was in India. And had to do with Adidas. It's about appropriation, essentially. All right. I think I found it. beautiful. I found it. The Times of India. That's the article. But that's the newspaper. I'm going to read you some news items. Failed to show respect. Adidas designer Willie Chaveria regrets Osaka slip-on, accused of copying Mexican design. Let me quickly read it to you. US fashion designer Willie Chaveria has said he regrets that sandals he made with Adidas copied a traditional design from Osaka in southern Mexico. This is what he said. I deeply regret that this design has appropriated the name and was not developed in direct and meaningful partnership with the Oaxacan community, Chaveria told AFP. Chaveria further admitted that the sandals failed to show the respect and cooperation owed to the community of Villa Hidalgo Yalalag, where the original design is believed to have originated. Chaveria is of Mexican heritage. In authorities, that is also from. He also has Mexican heritage, but authorities in Oaxaca, in Mexico, had complained that the Oaxaca slip-on sandals were a reworked version of the Urachi, a style made only in that region, which has one of Mexico's largest indigenous populations. On Friday, Mexico's government said it would seek compensation from Adidas, after which Mexico's president said intellectual property and the heritage law must be followed. The shoe features thin braided leather straps in a style tied to cultural heritage of Zapotec indigenous communities in Oaxaca, particularly in Villa Hidalgo de Yalalag. So, the person, this Willie Chaveria, he has Mexican heritage, but he's not from that area. He decided to design slippers for Adidas because, of course, he also had Mexican heritage, but it was a copy of a particular style or type that they use in Mexico, and those ones, asked Adidas to do the needful because they call it collective intellectual property. It said that we don't count things. Everybody can just do anything. We are all one Nigeria. Because very soon you just hear now that they are the ones that created Ife. There's no respect for anything. No respect at all. Respect is not even in the vocabulary. The idea basically is to just insult people and just talk anyhow and say you own everything. I will not want Nigeria. That's nonsense. And it's a mindset. It's a very, very low mindset. And it's funny that you don't have this conversation with another group in Nigeria. And there's a reason for that, by the way. I've been saying there's a reason for that. It has to, again, the most respectful way I can say it is that it has to do with cultural evolution. Some people are stunted. They have stunted cultural evolution. They are stuck. A place where you cannot appreciate people who acknowledge stuff and just appropriate anyhow. There's something wrong with the culture. This happened between folks in the US and Mexico, and they say, you know what, you can't have our shoes. You're going to have to understand that this thing is called collective intellectual property, and it's a matter of heritage. That's what egusi is. That's what gèlè is. And to all those Yoruba people that are always sending me messages, it's not a Yoruba thing. It's not a tribal thing. You just don't have any respect for your own heritage because maybe you were dropped off a tree or you were raised without proper upbringing. The point is that you need to protect what is yours. What is yours. It doesn't mean you can't share, but you don't lose it in the name of one Nigeria. That's the point. There's another one I'm going to read apart from this Adidas thing. There's another one. I have to find it very quickly. That's to do with Prada. And I found it. I'm going to read from Business Standard. It's also a newspaper. Prada admits Kolhapuri chapels inspired footwear collection after backlash. Days after featuring footwear inspired by India's iconic Kolhapuri chapels in its Milan show, luxury brand Prada finally acknowledged its source of inspiration. The brand on Saturday conceded that footwear showcased in its Spring-Summer 2026 menswear line was inspired by India's traditional Kolhapuri chapels, named for the Maharashtrian city where they were first made. Kolhapuri chapels were the inspiration behind the footwear featured in the Milan show, the Italian luxury label said, according to a report by the Press Trust of India. The admission comes amid a growing backlash in India, where both officials and artisans accused Prada of cultural appropriation and overlooking the heritage behind the handmade leather slippers. The footwear presented at Milan Fashion Week closely resembled... Oh dear. More. I'm going to read that part. The footwear presented at Milan Fashion Week closely resembled Kolhapuri Chappal's traditional leather flip-flops with a toe strap made for generations by artisans in Maharashtra and Karnataka that firmed up its name recognition after being featured in a 70s Amitabh Bachchan film. Let me read the letter that Prada wrote. In a letter addressed to Lalit Gandhi, president of the Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, Lorenzo Bertelli, Prada Group's head of corporate social responsibility, CSR, wrote, quote, "We acknowledge that the sandals featured in the recent Prada Men's 2026 fashion show are inspired by traditional Indian handcrafted footwear with a centuries-old heritage. We deeply recognize the cultural significance of such Indian craftsmanship." That's what sensible people do, especially when they've been caught. They don't dig in. Earlier this week, BJP MP Dhananjay Mahadik led a delegation of Kolhapuri Chappal artisans to meet Maharashtra Chief Minister. This is serious for people. Your MP is having to lead artisans to meet with other officials, not to do what they have to do with Prada. The other one that happened with the Mexican guy, he himself was Mexican, but it's not from that part of Mexico that owned that shoe or that design or that shoe type. We say we are civilized, Abi. Let's show it. You can share. You can use stuff. But stop appropriating stuff and say people should understand. Nobody cares about understanding with folks who are not thinking straight. And I'm almost done with this one. The delegation submitted... Okay, I didn't finish. Earlier this week, BJP MP Dhananjay Mahadik led a delegation of Kolhapuri Chappal artisans to meet Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis. The delegation submitted a letter calling for steps to protect the product's geographical indication rights, GI rights, and ensure the cultural significance of the footwear is upheld. In its reply, Prada also clarified that the designs are still under development. Please note that for now, the entire collection is currently at an early stage of design development and none of the pieces are confirmed to be produced or commercialized, because if you commercialize it, you will pay. This is not a Yoruba Igbo kind of nonsense that people think are doing on social media. This is real. This is what happens everywhere in the world when people take their heritage seriously, because your life, your prosperity as a people could actually depend on that. You could build entire industries on these things. On Ashofi, for instance, I won't be surprised tomorrow if you hear that Ashofi, it actually means Asho okay. Because anybody can take anything. We're all one Nigeria, eh? There is an entire industry on, Ashofi, whether it's in the saying, Shaki, that Okeogun side. You know, the other day I was on Twitter and only. Someone was talking about tie and dye and said they were copying something from Igbos. I was like, how now? Number one, this person has used, I think it was even a leko. It was a particular style of adire that the lady had used, right? And then the one that it was called Ukara. So this Igbo girl said, if I find the picture, I'll put it out when I'm putting out this video. She said, oh, this girl had won, she's a Yoruba girl, she did this tie and dye adire stuff and it was really good and she won an award or something like that. And this Igbo girl went there and said, you have copied Ukara. Number one, it was not Ukara, it was actually adire. Number two, the Ukara you're talking about is not even yours. It's from Cross River State. Just like in CBD. CBD belongs to a Jagam people, not Igbo people. You are just appropriating things from everywhere. And you could easily appropriate things from the Southeast at the time because, number one, you had a relationship with some people in the Eastern region before Nigeria happened. Number two, when Nigeria happened by 39 and then by 46, 47 after Rita's constitution, you became the head, the majority ethnic group in that region. So you're just appropriating anyhow. ZBD is not Igbo. Ukara is not Igbo. And we can go on. I'll just stop there for now. The other people can come and tell their story. But the point is, You don't have enough to be policing anybody. If you don't even, the thing you're even policing people for is not your own. The one that you should be just farabalẹ̀, just be doing things gently. Just, I mean, use what you have. If you want to use it. But you've got to, you can't appropriate. We're not one nation. We are not. We're a country with many nations, and each nation has their own culture. If you're going to take something from others, acknowledge it. It's not going to kill you. And this is something also that people have to get. And their elders need to speak up. Because all these clowns are, and I've noticed also, this is actually the shameful part. This is the shameful part. You listen to the elders, they sound exactly like the young ones. Very unaware, socially unaware. Just talking as if, and again, it's a symptom of where they are in cultural evolution. I mean, it's what it comes to at the end of the day. I read all this Turenchi that I read earlier, right? I read all those things so that you understand that this is not about, oh, don't do tribalism. This is not about tribalism. Nobody has time for that. This is about folks understanding that just because you eat akara and moi moi does not mean that you had akara. What you had was okpa. You have okpa. And it's whatever it is. I've never tasted that thing. I'm not looking forward to it because I've heard about it and it doesn't sound very nice. But it's okay. I mean, to each their own. I like akara moi moi. But you can eat whatever it is. And I can taste your own too if I like, but I don't. But whatever happens, even if I taste it, I will still say it's yours. Imagine, for instance, you see me eating kilishi, and I tell you that kilishi was designed and developed in Ikorodu. You know that the person has to be a thief. In case you're just joining us, I'm going to end with this Gele thing I read earlier, because it's very important that we remind ourselves how far we have come as a people. Somebody says Okpa is Gala. I don't know if Okpa is the Gala. I don't know about that. Maybe it is, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I'm going to read this in from Improvement Associations Among the Afikpo Igbo. It says, between 1947 and 1951, a women's union called Ovuejo existed in the area. Drawing its members from various villages, it had no officers, though its one literate member kept its financial records. These women wore Yoruba clothes as well as the Yoruba head tie. They considered themselves more civilized than other Afikpo women. Like I said, all Igbo politicians in the First Republic, all of them had two choices of clothes. It's either they wore suits or agbada. Not agbada as in, no, we're all the one that Yoruba people have with the cap. Sorry, I have a retard who is always coming here, and I think it's important for me to just mute you because you get my cause or let me just mute you for 5 minutes. You don't think. And it's a style that you guys use. I know, Pavik, I'm talking to you. An able person will say some very stupid things. Somebody will respond. You and the rest of you, let's say, you'll be correcting the person responding without ever talking about the thing they're responding to. Are you dumb? Here's the point. Whenever they wore the Yoruba clothes, they felt more superior. They felt superior to the other guys in the place. And I will finish what I was saying, even if you interrupted me. All politicians from Igbo land in the First Republic either wore suits or they wore Yoruba clothes. Do I have a problem with that? No. But it's important to be saying that the reason they wore that was because there was nothing else they could have worn. Let's make it very clear. There's nothing wrong with using whatever belongs to anybody. Wear it, but stop constituting nuisance and lying to people that their culture belongs to you. It's the attribute of a culture vulture, unless that's who you are. All right, that's enough for that. How people get that point? If you don't get it, we'll still come back. By the way, we didn't plan for this, so imagine if I planned for it. I have more things to read, by the way. So Pavik, you just cry, you feel bad, but I don't send you. And it's something you notice, right? Like they would never ever say, hey, don't say that thing about Yoruba people, don't say that thing about other people, don't. No, as soon as you begin to speak, That's when they will remember that they have brains and they have the capacity to actually correct somebody, but not their own. They have to correct you. It's either your tone is very harsh or what you are saying is tribalistic, and they use that thing a lot. And again, it's all about posturing and projecting. Oh, what you're doing is tribalistic. It's telling you how he thinks. Every accusation is a confession. That's who they are. And I've said it before. I'm not saying every Igbo person is like that. There are definitely exceptions, but they are like this. When you're thinking about a pool or an ocean of ethnic jingoists, especially amongst the so-called elites. And it's not new, by the way. It's been around since the 1930s. We have materials so that will make us understand that thing. Going everywhere policing people. I'm even glad I muted you because I'm about to just send you home. You're not serious. Why don't you guys do that thing? It's like you're not thinking. You never correct yourselves. You always go after people who are responding to the nonsense you are saying, just to make you feel as if you have something upstairs. You don't. All right, I've responded. Now let's go on. Interesting. The girl that did Gele, that one said she happened to be Yorùbá. And so when the whole thing started, she was like, what she did was Gele. People should, move on from that. Someone says they will also say you're educated, so you shouldn't talk along that line. Yes. But the craziest part, there was one. This one's actually a proper retard. Wrote to me on Facebook, and this one I've known for many, many years, since uni. This was maybe, of course, it was a junior in school, but I had become a retard because there's no way you're going to talk to me like that and you're not a retard. He said, I've always respected you, but all these people who collect money from politicians and come around and speak against Peter Obi. And I said, did you just say you always respected me? So they will first say that we've always respected you. Then you now insult you and say you have collected money from politicians. Was it your father that actually brokered the deal between me and APC guys? Very stupid crop of human beings. You will now be dropping, say, but I thought you were educated, but I also respected you, but you're a Christian, but you are educated, but you are enlightened. And so the ones who were speaking to Prada and Adidas I just read, who told you that they were not educated? And you, Yoruba person, you want to prove that you're educated, and your definition of education is what will make you lose your heritage. That is stupidity. Again, I'm not saying gatekeep so that nobody ever takes what is Yoruba people, Yorubas, and enjoy. I mean, see, you invent stuff for people to enjoy. Your own people will enjoy. And I'm a Christian, I should say, and the Bible talks about being blessed to be a blessing, right? If you're truly blessed, people will be blessed through you as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. You are blessed to be a blessing. What we are saying no to is when people take something and then change the idea of ownership, and then they get to the point where they tell you that, oh, you know what, the English word for it is headgear. You call it Gele, we call it Ichafu. You didn't have, even the Ichafu, you didn't have it. It was introduced by the Europeans, just like the head warmer, the one that red one. They started giving it to, what do they call these people? Warren chiefs. I went online. You know what? Let me read to you. If I find it, I'll read it. If I don't find it, I'll tell you. Just to tell you how it's actually the educated people who are Igbos. They are worse than the illiterates. And the funny thing is that the illiterates actually, and it's normal in every culture, those who don't go to school expect that you that have gone to school will know better. So whatever you say, they believe. So imagine people just making things up, and then you now have all this one that the only thing they do is selling spare parts. Listening to those who supposedly went to school, manufacturing history. Mombo, I found it. Somebody tells that winter cap is actually native to Igbo land. How? I'm going to read what Reno Mokri said. I'll tell you my own thoughts later, but let me read to you what Reno said. So somebody had insulted him. They always insult Reno. They had called him over Sabi. So he says, thank you for your feedback. Dear Sliani, Thank you for your feedback. You call me over Sabi. Okay, let me over Sabi you some history. Do you see this your quote unquote traditional cap on your head? Do you know the origin? When British and Irish Christian missionaries came to a part of Nigeria, they realized that they had no need for their winter caps, known as head warmers or beanies, because of the humid heat of the area. So they threw them away, and the local butt-naked natives picked them up and began wearing them. And now it has become their traditional cap. In the blistering heat, and the offspring of such a people is calling me Oversabi. Who is the real Oversabi? I'm not going to lie to you, it's actually true. It's true. I mean, you know the beanie, you know beanies now, you know what they look like. The head warmers. How can someone say it's been around since the 9th century? 9th century. Are you serious? Then you say, where's the proof? Then you become a bigot. If I mention something, I say clinical, archaeological, I have to provide evidence, don't I? There's one I'm looking for. If I find that thing, I'll read it. Because that thing, I almost fell off the chair when I saw it. Like, how? Even the Isiagu, the cloth, is not indigenous. And it's not, it's okay. It's okay. Ah, I found it. I have found it. You will laugh. Oh, you may not laugh. It may not be funny to you, but it was funny to me. His Okwu hat. Okwagu hat. This is the hat is calling Okwagu. Let me just show you so you know what I'm talking about. This is the hat is calling Okwagu. Are you ready for Fabu? It's history. This person is actually quite serious. So I don't want to talk about. If I can go and look for his Oku ID, that's the name of the name. Okwagu hat, symbolism, history, and cultural significance in Igbo tradition. The guy says the Okwagu hat is a knitted woolen hat, somewhat cone-shaped with a bob at the end. This bob is the tail of the hat. It has intricate patterns of red, white, and black stripes. Where will you do woolen material in Igbo? Where? How? When? Hey, anyway, let me read. The Okwagu is a knitted woolen hat, somewhat cone-shaped with a bob at the end. This bob is the tail of the hat. It has intricate patterns of red, white, and black stripes, representing the spots of a leopard, an animal known for its strength and bravery among the Igbo people. The Okwagu, God help me, I need strength to read this thing. The Okwagu is traditionally worn by warriors in Igbo land. Hell. The Okwagu. I carried this with a straight face. Man, how did you get... Okay. The Okwagu is traditionally worn by warriors in Igbo land, especially by the men of Oafia, Abiriba, and other groups from the Aro and Afiko regions in Abia and Ebonyi State in Nigeria. These regions were used as mercenaries by the Aro Confederacy and are collectively known as Abam warriors. No! Jesus is Lord, man. Gosh. Who did this to these people? Who? Just be... That's why we're reading the other one. This last time, that one was saying tortoise brought... Why? Why? Why do people lie? That's why they said that Nnamdi Azikiwe used to put mermaid inside bottle. So I had to stop when he said that they were using as mercenaries by the Aro Confederacy. Let's continue. In the past, due to migration and new settlements, fighting was common among the early tribesmen. Only a man who had killed his enemy in battle and brought home his head could wear the Okwagu, the one that the British brought. Only a man who had killed his enemy in battle and brought home his head could wear the Okwagu adorned with an eagle's feather. showing his bravery and strength. The hats were said to be dyed with the blood of enemy soldiers. He would then be eligible for initiation into special societies like the Ogbuisi. You know, it's enough Lamba for one day. There are some other things they wrote there, but it's enough. It's enough. Something that Oyinbo blessed you with. You are saying that it belonged in the Kingdom century. Hunters used to use it, and warriors fighting Arrow Confederacy. Why would Arrow Confederacy need this kind of cap in this kind of weather? I mean, think about it. You live in the tropics. Number one, where we get this material to do, we can't ship. You get we want to do this thing using that. You shall not say no land, Baba. It's true what some people say, but I won't say it. Let's just leave the matter. But to be clear, that stuff belongs to Yoruba people. The idea of Gele Yoruba, and we will, in fact, at some point, people will begin to gatekeep stuff, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And every time they ask you, we'll just tell them about the Afikpo women, those ones who started Ovuejo and thought they were better than others because they were wearing Yoruba clothes. And I have no problem with that, by the way. I think it's peachy. It's fine. Okay. And I'll read that thing about clothes. I'll read it one more time from Alabi Sama's book. Then we'll move on to other things. In the eastern region of Nigeria, with Enugu as its capital, Dr. Michael Okpara, the premier of the region, put up an edict in 1963 declaring that anybody that came to Ogbete market in Enugu naked would pay a fine. And that was how second-hand clothing called Okrika Wake Up was introduced into Nigeria. The leader of the western region of Nigeria, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, warned the people in a presidential campaign later on that the introduction of second-hand clothing into Nigeria would kill our textile industries. They hated him for that. Today, no textile mill is standing in all of Nigeria, while second-hand clothing business booms, and so is unemployment. Somebody says, what page? Page 15. The Tragedy of Victory by Godwin Labisama. That's your history, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, there are people who are not even wearing. In fact, let me read something from this book. There are people who are not wearing clothes in the middle belt, in the Coma Hills, in the 1990s, and they were found, and people sent stuff by NCCF, Nigerian Christian Corpus Fellowship, which I belonged to when I was 7, proudly so. Very nice organization. But does that change the fact that they are humans? Of course, they're humans. They are humans. It doesn't change the fact that it's just whenever you wake up is your morning. No problem. But you can't wake up in 6:30. See, telling them. By the way, there are many reports. There's one from New York Times. If we're really, you know what? Somebody wrote something in the comment section. I will read it. We have to begin to tell ourselves, like, let's respect ourselves. I'm going to read something to you from New York Times. African nudity banned. This is another case. So apart from the one that happened in 63, this is another case. Nigerians must don clothes along with independence. This was just before independence. Lagos, Nigeria, July 3. With Nigerian independence approaching, government officials are pleading with Africans to wear clothes. Abakaliki province officials said it would not be dignified for nature-loving Nigerians to go naked in independence as they did under British colonialism. In other provinces, the people have donned clothes, but in Abakaliki, not even a fig leaf, much less a loincloth, is worn. Provincial Secretary J.W. Leach said Abakaliki residents must get clothes in 30 days after August 1. Any person found naked or scantily clothed will be prosecuted, the secretary said. That was just before independence. You can't listen. Anytime you wake up is your morning, and there's no problem with that, right? But don't come from spaces and tell. It's even disrespectful to be comparing Yoruba with this nonsense. There was an archaeological work that was carried out in Ife last year they found wheat and cotton seeds and dated them to 10th century AD, 10th, 11th century AD. That's about 1,000 years ago. And they're saying around 12th century AD, there was a thriving textile industry in Ife. You started wearing clothes last century. You can't be telling people what they are wearing, how gèlè is skinny con. Let us tell you what gèlè is. Let me tell you about clothing. What do you know? Just enjoy the grace of God. Let's all of us share what we are sharing. Wear what you are wearing. God be with us till we meet again. No problem with anybody. We are all Nigeria. Good people, great nation. Let's share. But don't come around with telling people history. What history are you going to talk about? Like I said earlier, anytime you wake up is your morning. There's a group here that Abi Sama talked about in that same book when he said, he was talking about how the repairs of the Jeep had not been completed before they arrived and Major Oil needed his Jeep. I didn't explain what happened, which rightly enough made him unhappy with me. He ordered that I should lead a section of 7 men to go and guard the broken down helicopter before the locals tampered with it. So we went with 7 days rations to the helicopter site. At the sight of the helicopter, all the villagers ran away and hid as the first helicopter carried British officers. The next day, natives realized that we were Africans and became a little more friendly. All of them, both male and female, were stark naked as they walked toward us. Their being naked was not strange to us because in our Kaduna-based 3rd Battalion training areas of Kujama, Kajuru, Koi, Kefi, and the areas around there, our people were also going naked, except that our people were more civilized because they had leaves to cover both front and back, while the Congolese were just completely naked. Then you now talk about what happened in the eastern region, even in the eastern region of Nigeria, in Enugu, and so on and so forth, how second-hand clothing came to Nigeria. Somebody says, did they grow wool? Yes, now. We grew wool now. Wool is cotton. You know, one of the reasons, I'm trying to remember the book where you're going to find this. One of the reasons the British took a liking to Egba land. I'll tell you something about Egba in a bit. Give me a second. If you're angry with this thing, don't be angry. It's just that Bible says, you shall know the truth. The truth shall set you free. Sometimes, to be fair, the truth can make you miserable, but to eventually set you free. It's the nature of truth. Yeah, somebody asked me, where did I get what I read just now? It's from New York Times, Monday, July 4, 1960. Egba, okay, thank you for reminding me, Egba. I'll tell you about Egba in a bit. Let me finish up with YouTube. But thank you very much for that Egba thing. Why, one of the reasons the British took a liking to Egba, myself for once, Mambo. All right, now let me say what I wanted to say. First, with the stuff I said about New York Times, so I'm going to just quickly read the article, then I'll tell you the source. African Nudity Banned, that's the title of the article. It was published in the New York Times on July 4, 1960. Okay? Lagos, Nigeria. Sorry, July 3, 1960. With Nigerian independence approaching, government officials are pleading with Africans. It's talking about Africans in Nigeria, of course. Government officials are pleading with Africans to wear clothes. Abakaliki province officials said it would not be dignified for nature-loving Nigerians. That nature-loving is a very good way of saying that you are naked. It's not that you like nature. It's just that it is well. Anyway, it says, Abakaliki province officials said it would not be dignified for nature-loving Nigerians to go naked in independence, as they did under British colonialism. In other provinces, the people have donned clothes, but in Abakaliki, not even a fig leaf, much less a loincloth, is worn. In other words, they just let everything go. Provincial Secretary J.W. Leach said Abakaliki residents must get clothes in 30 days. After August 1, any person found naked or scantily clothed will be prosecuted, the secretary said. So that's from New York Times. Now and then the other one about, and in case you are here and shouting, oh, that's Abakaliki people is there, but in people, it's not just them. In Enugu is a capital. It was a capital of the Eastern region. Dr. Michael Okpara, the premier of the region, put up an edict in 1963 declaring that anybody that came to Ogbete market in Enugu naked would pay a fine. And that was how second-hand clothing called Okrika Wake Up was introduced into Nigeria. The leader of the Western region of Nigeria, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, warned the people in the presidential campaign. He warned. I'm reading this intentionally. The leader of the Western region of Nigeria, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, warned the people in the presidential campaign later on that the introduction of second-hand clothing into Nigeria would kill our textile industries. They hated him for that. Today, no textile mill is standing in all of Nigeria, while second-hand clothing business booms, and so is unemployment. What do they call it now? Thrift. Thrift. It's business, oh. But think about the chain. You are just coming in at the end, if not even at the end. They don't finish and don't use and finish. They can't collect it as well. I was saying something about cotton earlier, and I said that there was archaeological work done in Ife, the end of last year, where they found cotton seed from the 11th century, 10th, 11th century in Ife. Cotton seed, wheat, and so on and so forth. And I was also saying that, okay, I remember now, Egba, that one of the reasons the British actually took a liking to Egba wasn't because it was because of cotton, because America was having a civil war. See, history is linked. America was having a civil war, and Britain was trying to find another place to get cotton, and they saw that they could get a lot in Egba land, cotton and palm oil. Actually, those two, cotton and palm oil. All of that to say that if a people have had a tradition of adire, of sanya, of etu, of aran, of ofi, of alari, these are different types of clothes in Yoruba land. I'm not saying designs, I'm saying clothes. Those are today. The only one we're always talking about is ofi. There's aran, there's alari, there's sonya is a type of cloth, is a design. There's adire, of course. If people have been wearing that for centuries, and you require an edict in the 1960s to begin to wear second-hand clothes, do you really think that it's your place to be telling those people about civilization and clothing? It's just a question. They're not saying don't wear what we are wearing. No, damask is imported. We imported damask, we imported lace. But in time, CMBB. The point is not that you should not wear it, but you shouldn't be the one lecturing Yoruba people about, and this one is Gele, is Ichafu, is the same thing. It is not. It couldn't. Folks were not even, they didn't even have loin clothes. You know what it means not to have, you know what loin cloth is? It's just that piece of, let's call it clothing, we might as well call it a rag, but let's call it clothing, that you put around your privates. That's it. Is it the person who has not put something around his private that will put something on his head and say he's over with Gele? I've told you all the books. So if you are angry, be angry with the authors. And I hope I was respectful enough, because to be honest, there are other books I could have read, but I just didn't want to read those ones. Those ones are even brutal. I just don't like it when people take folks for granted. Say, oh, you're right, but just be throwing things and say we have history, we are one Nigeria. We have different histories, different culture. And there's nothing wrong. We can share. I don't mind sharing. To share is to care. I care about you. We need each other. It's okay, but don't be stupid. Don't be telling people that you're going to tell them where they come from. I have a picture here. If I show you, let me see. Can I show you this picture? No. Okay. I don't want to use this picture because the person is naked. The person is actually completely stark naked and is in the market. Oja in the market. This picture, because we can't show things like that here. Stark naked. I mean, may God bless all of us. We are good people, great nation, but don't be. Someone says this is partial. Prof is not giving the juicy stories, Jerry. You want me to? But in your case, of Gele, no. Automatic button to think about this. She one around. Me, we'll start like this. We'll be going higher. The person messes up, then I'll collect. All right. I hope with these few points of mine, I'll be able to convince us and not to confuse us that God loves everybody. Nigeria belongs to all of us. We can all share our cultures and you can eat akara. But don't say akara is from your place. And if you're a Yoruba person whose job in life is to pander, don't come to me to tell me that doesn't really matter. It may not matter to you. It matters to me. If a person wants to deal with you, usually they don't start in that big space. They start small. They attack your elders. They call them names. They give names to your ethnicity in the name of jokes, stupid comedies they have all over the place. Yoruba people are this, Yoruba people are that. You'll be laughing like Okpono. They will insult your father. You'll still be laughing. It means that your time to go to the grave is not far away. Anyway, the point is they will insult you. They will tell you what belongs to you is actually theirs. Then after they've said that over and over again, it's our own, it's your own, it's our own, it's our own. They can say, okay, you know, let's do like this. It belongs to all of us. Do you agree? You now say, yes, let's stop fighting. No. The person who's saying it belongs to all of us is the prostitute in Solomon's story. Her baby died. She has a dead baby. She has no living culture. Her culture is dead. That's why I say let us share. And she would not mind that the baby, the living baby, is killed as long as she has a part of it. And she makes sure that other person also suffers the cultural suicide that she has gone through. The other person will also suffer it. That's what it's all about. And Solomon was very wise. Solomon said, the woman who is saying, don't cut this baby, leave this baby alive. That's the mother of the baby. The Yoruba people are saying that this thing is gèlè, this thing is akara, this thing is moi, this is Yoruba culture. Those ones, they own the culture. You that are saying, let's just share it in one Nigeria. You are a thief. You are a thief. And stop stealing. God doesn't like thieves. All liars and thieves will go to hell. May you not go to a fire in Jesus' name. Amen. Now, let us go on to the news for today. How did we get here? We're just gisting, right? Okay.